With all the new additions to the Texans offense, they become the pretty girl at school. But is that too much to handle for Bobby Slowik? And today we take another look at the linebacker group who is holding their own without Christian Harris.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers to this Tuesday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. A part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you to all of our first-time listeners and viewers. Come on in, sit down, take a seat, drink your morning coffee. Just do us three favors. Subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And thank you to all of our everydayers from the Himalayas coming back to listen to Cody and myself talk Texans. I'm your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman, on the other side of the screen, all the way up in Detroit, still holding it down for down south, Houston Texans, Cody M. Davis. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Cody, we got a lot on our plate. More of an injury update on Joe Mixon. The linebacker group has looked phenomenal without Christian Harris. I think that's been a pleasant surprise, at least for me, just seeing the growth, maturity in his game of Henry To'oTo'o. So we'll talk about that. But we're going to open up today's show just talking about Bobby Slowik and 19 points from the offense against the Chicago Bears Sunday night. Some people feel like that's not enough. Some people want to rather talk about that instead of talking about the Houston Texans holding the Chicago Bears to 13 points through 4 quarters. But I understand it because, honestly, if we take a look at where the downfall came for the Houston Texans, 4-14 on third downs, they were never really able to get into a groove throughout the entirety of the game. So that's where we're going to start off today, Cody. Too much. Bobby, oh, it's too hot, too hot, yeah. Bobby, gotta run for shelter, gotta run for shade.
Look, and the reason why, maybe is it too much for Bobby Slowik to handle? Maybe that's not the right wording. Maybe does Bobby Slowik need more time or whatever the case might be. But, John, I just look at it from two standpoints. First and foremost, man, look, the offense, say what you want, but the offense, nobody cannot deny. It looked completely different for what it looked like during week one, the week one victory against the Indianapolis Colts. There was moments throughout this game against the Bears to where they just looked discombobulated at times, and I just look at it from a standpoint to where I feel like this team on the offensive side of the ball, and even Bobby Slowik himself with the way he's able to draw up schemes and how much he has helped this offense over the past year or so since he's been here, I feel like it's just too much for the Houston Texans to look like that. And once again, I get it. I understand it. One of my favorite sayings that I'm always getting teased about in the comment section. Regardless of how good this offense is going to be, I understand you're going to have moments where it's going to, it's going to look funky at times. That's just the reality of the situation. But yesterday, man, I just keep going back. Had the Houston Texans played against a more established team, more established quarterback, a better play caller, and everything else in between, the Houston Texans will be sitting here at 1-1 and not 2-0 like they are today. But John, when I just take a look at everything that Bobby Slowik has to work with right now, I do wonder, how is he going about drawing up and putting everybody in a position to succeed? John, listeners and viewers, you guys know me. Ever since Bobby Slowik has been named the offensive coordinator, dating all the way back to week 2 last year, one of my favorite attributes about Bobby Slowik is having him work with his players to put them in the best situation possible on the field. However, John, listeners and viewers, through the first 2 games, I don't think he has done that because, look, you look at what Nico Collins has been able to do through the first 2 games. But
kind of reminds me of how Nico finished the year off. Only guy out there really able to get open and make plays, by the way.
Which is good because Maybe we'll have this conversation tomorrow as a full topic. Nico Collins is a top 10 wide receiver in this league. We're at in the top 10. That's going to be fun to debate. But Nico Collins is a top 10 wide receiver in the league. So, you're always going to have somebody who's top 10 at their respective position. They're always going to get theirs. But I look at Dalton Schultz. It seemed like he isn't utilizing Dalton Schultz as much this year as to last year. Stephon Diggs, I understand it. You're still trying to get accustomed to where he's fit in this offense. He's still trying to figure out where he fit within his offense. But I seem like there's still a lot of meat on the bones in terms of trying to get the most out of Stephon Diggs through these first 2 games. And then, of course, the biggest one, and John, you alluded to this on yesterday's show, Tank Dell. What the hell are you doing with Tank Dell? Through the first 2 games as of right now, Tank Dell, 4 catches for 37 yards. Through the first 2 games last year as a rookie, 10 catches for 106 yards. Look, the Texans definitely have a lot more weapons to utilize now than they did during the first 2 games of last season. But I just look at Bobby Slowik and I'm just thinking to myself, you have too much talent on the offensive side of the ball to have the Houston Texans. Look, forget the 19 points. This offense, they could go out and get some of the best playmakers in NFL history. You're still going to have moments where everything just you're not going to look as explosive. But just the way this team looked discombobulated is what bothers me when I go back and I take a look at that game on Sunday night.
I mean, let's take a look at a couple of things. Factors that factor into what's going on right now. The fact is, Houston does have more weapons. There's more talent now. And this is why I may sound like a boomer when I say this, but we need to start seeing more out of teams league-wide in preseason time.
Oh, what?
But by the time the season rolls around, the first couple of games, I think there is wrinkles that teams are not able to iron out offensively and defensively because preseason isn't taken as seriously as it used to be. I don't know if that's the case, but back to the topic. For Bobby, I'm going to give him a little pass for right now. Go give him a pass.
Okay.
Because
last
year, Nico, Tank, Bobby. No, I'm sorry. Nico, Tank, Dalton, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, a Brevin Jordan that badly made the team, a Damian Pierce that wasn't running the ball worth anything, didn't give Devin Singletary the shot yet, compared to a top 10 receiver in the league now, Nico Collins, that's what we're going to call him. Tank Dell still coming off of an injury and, his offseason. Stephon Diggs, who I honestly think the Houston Texans have utilized Stephon Diggs to the best ability right now. But I've been a huge advocate in saying Stephon Diggs is your underneath guy. Case in point, against the Colts, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 33 yards. Both of those touchdowns underneath. Dalton Schultz, a more experienced and more Swiss Army knife player in Brevin Jordan now. So 2 different Brevin Jordans 365 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Cade Stover, Joe Mixon. 2 different offenses in year 2 for C.J. Stroud. I'm going to give him a pass to figure it out. But the fact is, he has to figure it out. The fact is, through 4 quarters, if you're going to say find the hot hand, guys got to get hot first. And honestly, I 100% agree with you. Dalton Schultz is more, and he's been blocking his butt off. That's a part of his game I'd love to see, but he's more than that. He's more than that now. You look at going up against some of these teams, he can win some of those one-on-ones against some of these linebackers. He can hurt teams in the middle of the field through the seams. He's more than that. He's more than a blocker. And I'm sorry, the most frustrating part about watching Sunday's game was, hey, man, Tank Dell isn't Inspector Gadget. That ain't who he is. He's a kid from Florida who came down here to Houston, and he has the footwork of Chad Johnson and Antonio Brown, and he can get open. Yeah, he dropped the pass and hit him in his hands. It was a tough pass and throw by C.J. Stroud. On the run, that's a tough catch. He wants that back. That probably would have been a 50-yard TD. I get it. But this isn't – he ain't a player that we gave you a shot, you messed up, you're back in the doghouse. This ain't Bill O'Brien days with Kiki QT. That's not what it is. So I do think this week moving forward, there needs to be an intentional purpose, an intentional mindset into getting guys truly involved. Nico will get his, but it seems like, and this may be because by design or what, I'm not sure. Bobby is an excellent play designer. But everybody else is just kind of missing theirs. And for this team to hit on all cylinders, there are 2 wins to start the year, 2-0 to start the year. They haven't hit on all cylinders yet. Bobby has to come on with it. So I'm giving him a pass right now. I'm not going to say it's too much to handle for Bobby. I'm going to say this for Bobby. You got your dip, you got your chip. Don't put too much dip on that chip if you ain't ready for what comes with it. This team wants to eat. They want to get fat and healthy and full because they just that damn good on offense. They want to keep eating greedy. Everybody want to get their hands on the ball. So if you're not ready for that, then, by week 7 and 9, week 7, 8, 9, we'll know whether or not you can be a head coach in this league or not. Design these plays all you want, but calling it up, dialing it up is what matters.
You ain't lying about that.
And then listen, I want to go back to really quick. I want to go back to what Bobby Slowik said about CJ and how he kind of gave us an insight. Listen, sometimes I need CJ to go out there and make these plays for me.
Yeah, I think he's always been all in on it. He understands how valuable that is as a quarterback to just be able to stay on the field, get to third and manageables. And that's really what it's about. It's my job to get number one as open as possible all the time. But not always going to do that. And when I'm wrong, how right can you make me? Are we wrong? Like, man, I just called a play and we lost 4 yards? Or can I call a play and be wrong and we gained 6? And that started towards the end of camp. That happened a lot. He really is bought into staying on rhythm, getting the ball out on time and really getting it to our playmakers' hands as often as possible. And that's not easy to do. Like, you have to be very deliberate in how you approach every day to go put that into action, and it definitely has grown.
CJ Stroud took full responsibility for the deficiencies that we saw in the Houston Texans offense on Sunday. However, I do want to say I don't think this was CJ's fault. I think a lot of it has to do with Bobby Slowik still trying to figure out how to use a lot of these weapons, man, because look, at the end of the day, we are happy, excited that the Houston Texans have endless of weapons. You see when everybody is clicking, whether it's a couple drives against the Bears or throughout damn near the whole entire game against the Indianapolis Colts. When everybody's on one accord, this offense could look really good, but I just think Bobby Slowik, man, just really need to lock down focus. Like I say, maybe saying too much. Is it too much for him to handle? Maybe that's the wrong wording. Maybe more so just giving him enough time. But John, I'll tell you one thing, like I've been saying this whole entire year, as of right now, they better get it together within these next couple of weeks, because that second half of this schedule is going to be very tough for this organization. So, John, I know it might be still kind of early, but I am a little bit more excited and a little bit more on the positive side by looking at how the Houston Texans linebacking core has been holding it on without Christian Harris. We're going to talk about that and more takeaways on the defensive side of the ball from the Houston Texans 19-13 victory against the Chicago Bears.
Hey guys, whenever you're hiring for your small business, you want to make sure that you find the quality professionals that are right for the role. You don't want any old body coming in applying for your job, right? Because you got to trust them to be able to do what you need them to do so your small business can succeed. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you find quality professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who are not actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking out. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and may not have the time to hire or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. And I also want to let you guys in on another secret that Cody and I love here, and that's Game Time. Download the Game Time app right now. You're sitting on your phone anyhow. Pause the show, go download the app, and come back to listen why you should download it. Number one, we're giving away a discount code. If you download the app, create an account, you can use Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. But also with Game Time, they have sporting events, comedy events. What you want to get out and go to a theater, they have that as well. You can also go check out concerts. They also give you the feature that allows you to look at your seat and view it from the app, so you'll know exactly where you're sitting at once you get to the location. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So again, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time. Who?
Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, as we continue to talk Texans here on this Tuesday. I got to tell you, man, last week, I said, hey, listen, Texas fans, the national media is going to be out there. Y'all got a Sunday night game. Week 2, it ain't flexed. It was prime time to plan for you. Get your butts out to the stadium. And I followed DJ, I follow Jonathan, I follow Sart, I follow all of the guys in the media, and what they typically do is post a picture pregame. I said, man, I'm worried. I was worried, Cody. I didn't see many butts in seats. But at kickoff, y'all were loud, y'all were proud, y'all were rocking. Texans fans showed up, and I even say that, hey, y'all allowed for the Chicago Bears to have a couple of those false starts because y'all so loud. So shout out to the Texans fans. I just want to give y'all a shout out. But we got to talk about the linebacker group who's played well. Aziz said, listen, we have to make them uncomfortable, in terms of, he was asked about Caleb Williams, the rookie. He said, as a defense, just trying to take everything personal, making him uncomfortable. What did you hear that before? Here on the Locked On Texas podcast, your local host, your local experts. And I think, listen, again, I'm going to keep saying it. Y'all want to get mad and talk about 19 points. We got all of this, 19 points. The discourse should be Caleb Williams had a passer rating of 4.9 versus the blitz. Caleb Williams versus the blitz for the Houston Texans, 3 of 12, 15 yards, 1 interception, 5 sacks. In the 2023 NFL season, the Houston Texans blitzed about 31% on defensive plays. They were at the bottom half of the league. Difference from Sunday night. They blitzed around 40%. They got after him. The Texans swapping out Denzel Perryman for Aziz. Petrie playing the nickel, so he's around the LOS line of scrimmage. And so far, the pleasant sight of Henry T developing into the player he's been through 2 weeks, dating back to preseason even, has allowed the Texans to be able to generate pressure by sending extra bodies because they have the guys they can trust on the back end, starting with that second level with the linebackers. And honestly, guys, Henry T put an emphasis on, he had to drop weight this offseason, and he's done that, and he's looked more explosive at this point of the season than last year. And he's looked more fundamentally sound, not even just playing downhill. This also includes him scraping as he reads before reacting. Very great base, so he's not getting knocked off of his base, decisively dropping back into his zone without hesitation, shoulder dipping to beat offensive lineman blocks, to live in the backfield. He had a couple of tackles for losses in the sack. This is what you're getting out of this linebacker unit without Christian Harris. I'm going to say this right now. This is something that we can revisit later down the line. how much of Henry T's play will impact whether or not Houston picks up that 5th-year option for Christian Harris?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because
Henry T has been looking
Harris,
good, but he has.
I love Harris.
Come on now, John.
I love Harris, and I may be doing too much as I normally do, but I'll put it like this: once Harris comes back, you're looking at the potential of so many different disguise coverages because Houston has been, we call it a 4-2-5 defense with nickel with Jalen Petrie playing the nickel, so he's their 5th DB out there.
Mm-hmm.
But what if they just want to get creative and have Azeez, Henry, and Christian Harris out there at one time? Depending on how Harris looks when he comes back. Because honestly, I've been blown away by Henry T's ability and his improvement in the coverage as a linebacker. But they got some weapons, man. And oh, by the way, the Nico Autry is out. He don't come back until week 7. So you talk about generating pressure. Woo!
Hey, man, I've been really impressed. You know, we talked about Henry T a little bit last week, man. And I'm going to just go back to what I said last week. I knew that he was going to be in the making for a comeback season when not only was he talking about the weight that he dropped, but he was also talking about the confidence that he has built. And not only has he talked about that, that's been the biggest difference that head coach Nico Collins talked about during training camp. That was one of the things that Azeez kept going back to every time somebody talked to him about, what are your early impressions of Henry T? What did you know about him as a rookie? And how have you seen his growth from when you guys started doing OTAs and where you guys at right now? And they've always talked about his confidence, John. And just like I said last week, Henry T is the primary example as to why you cannot judge a prospect during his rookie season. Sometimes they come out on fire like CJ, like Will, and like Tank. And sometimes it takes them a while to get accustomed to the NFL. And I know ever since I've been covering this team, the listeners that's been rocking with us since day one, especially the ones that's been reading my work, have heard me say and write this time and time again, but it's the reality of the situation. Sometimes a lot of these prospects just need that extra year. They need to just take that step back to learn. They need an opportunity to go out there and see what it's like to execute on the NFL level. Yes, we know what you was at college at Alabama, but this is the NFL where the 4th string is just as good and strong than where you were as an All-America at one of the top programs in the nation. These are the small intangibles that goes into what makes a long and good career. And John,
case in point, Azeez didn't really take off to his 3rd year.
Yeah, and you know who he got in his 3rd year, which brings me to my other point, D'Amico Ryans, who is one of the best teachers that this league has to offer. And I think that's part of the reason why we are seeing Henry T take this step, just like we have seen Derek Stingley Jr. take another step going into year 4. You talk about the defense, man, John. I think we did a disservice on yesterday because we did not mention Derek Stingley Jr. name. You look at the work that he did on DJ Moore, man. You look that he had an opportunity to record an interception. That he's smiling all in the camera and stuff. Man, I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Derek Stingley Jr. Here's what head coach Nico Collins had to say about his growth and the job that he did on DJ Moore, one of the best wide receivers, one of the better wide receivers that this league has to offer.
And schematically, we do a lot of different things. And for me, defensively, whatever it takes, that specific week, that's what we'll do. Stingley was matched up, on DJ Moore. Thought he did a really nice job. And to see him go attack the football, that was big time for us. And that's what we need Stingley to do.
It's good to see Sting go out there. I just want to see Stingley for a healthy season.
That's all he need, man.
That's all he needs. I thought he had a good outing. I thought that there was a couple
of swagger back too. We starting to see Sting from LSU 2019, man.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Even that version of Sting ain't talking too much. Sting ain't. You would think something's wrong with Stingley if you interview him in the locker room because he's only gonna give you a few words.
seriously.
But I interviewed him. Hold weight.
I interviewed him one-on-one one time, and I walked away like, yeah, unless he have a game like 3-4, I don't think I'm talking to Sting again.
But even it ain't about the interceptions. It's about, hey man, you really ain't allowed too many yards today. I think he only allowed, I think it was 54 yards total. And I do want Sting to be more engaged early in the games because it seems like it takes him a while to warm up a little bit. But that interception was beautiful. I mean, he read it like a receiver. I also got to continue to show love to this one guy that I'm going to keep doing until he's not a Houston Texan no more. Eric Murray. Eric Murray played in 74% of the defensive snaps. Didn't play as much in week 1. Played more than Kalen Bullock. He had a couple of good moments for Houston, man. So had a pass deflection, 2 tackles. Hey, Eric, Mr. Murray, my bad. I was wrong 3 years ago, but you're playing some good football for the Houston Texans. We got to give you an injury update on Joe Mixon when we come back. But before we do that, guys, I want to let you guys know about a way that if you're tired of dealing with the cable system and you just want to watch football without a bunch of the other stuff going on, listen to this. We got a little something different for y'all right now. Right now through September 22nd, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, they are hooking up all FanDuel customers. You can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you will be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook today. Again, visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook today. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Before we close out today's show, there's a couple of clips going around on Twitter right now that I think is they're both hilarious. Number one, Shane Waldron, the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator. There's a clip with him on the sideline calling the play. He's shaking like them dollars coming out. That's how much the NRG was rocking and rolling on Sunday night. And that defense was just that ferocious. And we what I'm gonna do later this week, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna do a solo show to go in further depth on how great Jalen Petrie played football Sunday night. But that defense was rocking and rolling. And then there's another clip rolling around that just showed the piss poor performance. I think that was from Darnell Wright trying to block Danielle Hunter. And that resulted in a blow-up sack on Caleb Williams. And so we can either take time tonight as we talk to the Lord and say we want to pray for Caleb Williams, or Cody, we can go to
Charlotte.
We can go to Charlotte, Carolina.
Lord have mercy.
Are we praying for the Bryce Young, or are we praying for the Panthers fans?
Man, I'm praying for Bryce Young. Man, I mean, you got to pray for both of them.
I'm not.
I'm praying for Bryce Young.
I'm a Joel Osteen.
Look. First of all, let me just say this. I know this is Locked On Texans. The majority of the time, me and John was rocking with the show. We had to cover stories like this. You know, a young prospect getting benched. He used to wear number 10. That's why we got 7 here, thankfully. But I truly do feel bad for that young man. You know, hopefully he'll get into a better situation, John, listeners and viewers. I know in terms of when we start looking at the worst trades in league history, Deshaun and the package that the Houston Texans received in order to send Deshaun to Cleveland, that's going to be up there. But if Carolina moves on from Bryce Young, and I think they kind of have to now, that trade might be up there as well.
I think they will.
And then Chicago has like another prominent pick coming back for this upcoming draft too, right?
Yeah, they got a second rounder, I think, that's coming to them.
Oh my God! But This is Locked On Texas. We don't have to worry about those type of stories anymore. You know, talking about tough, man. You know, seeing Joe Mixon go down with a ankle injury on yesterday was very tough. Here's what head coach Nico Collins had to say about the hit that led to Joe Mixon's injury.
Right, losing Joe was tough for our offense. We know the production that Joe had the first week. It was beneficial, and it was key to our success in the first week. And with the tackle, right, it's definitely, in my mind, considered the hip drop when a defender unweights himself and he puts all of his weight on the runner's legs. You see why we want to get the hip drop tackle out of the game, right, because it causes a lot of injuries when it happened. The hip drop tackle doesn't happen much but the percentage of injury when it does happen is very high, and you saw that there with Joe, and his ankle, and the defender landing on his ankle. So tough spot to be in. We all want to coach it better. Defenders, that's why you want to put your body in front and tackle guys in front and not reaching from behind. And the defender's in a bad spot there. He's trying to get Joe down, and the only way, when you're in a bad spot, the only way is to, unweight yourself, and you put your weight all on his legs. So unfortunate that happened to Joe.
Head coach D'Amico Ryans went on to say that Joe, as of right now, is, it seems like it's going to be a short-term injury. He's going to be day-to-day, John. Even though he didn't say it, because the way his ankle bent, I'm just thankful that it wasn't nothing too serious, because that looked mighty scary to the point. And they kept showing the replay. I just turned my head at one point because I was like, oh, my God. But go ahead.
I know I was surprised that the refs didn't call it. I thought that was textbook hip drop tackle.
Me too.
In fairness, it's hard to call that in real time, but I thought that specifically was textbook hip drop. So I was surprised that they didn't call it. But yeah, luckily so, man. It's not a serious injury, because the Houston Texans, I don't believe they can afford that right now. And Joe Mixon, who signed a 3-year extension, you don't want to see him go out like that.
Heck no. Maybe this is something we could get into a little bit later on in the week, especially once we start, seeing whether or not Joe Mixon practices. But, what's going to be the backup if Joe Mixon can't go Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings? Because Damian Pierce, he didn't suit up on Sunday due to a hamstring injury, and I'm not expecting him to come back next week. I'm already ruling him out because a hamstring injury is a soft tissue injury, and those soft tissue injuries are very, 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 very tricky, and you have to make sure that you are extremely careful in terms of the rehab prospect and rushing somebody back, because the slightest mistake can put them out for majority, if not all of the rest of the year. So that's one aspect. Have we seen enough from Cam Akers to say, you know what, if Joe Mixon cannot go against Minnesota, can he fill in that vacancy? Can Darrell Gumbawali? I kind of think the Houston Texans will definitely be in a tough position if Joe Mixon cannot go against the Vikings, who are 2-0 right now. Their defense is putting on the show.
Yeah. And the Texans take on Jonathan Grenard that game, so I'm sure he's going to want to come out here.
And Blake Cashman.
Yeah, and Blake Cashman. Titus, I know some of your tricks and moves. I know how to get around you. So I think Cam has done enough, honestly. Leading rusher from the running back position for the Houston Texans this past Sunday night. I think he fits this system. In a lot of ways, I think he may fit this system better than Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon just a better overall running back and player than Cam Akers. So that's something to look forward to. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they activate John Mechie and put him in the backfield, because, I'm wondering what's going on with that situation. But we'll continue to watch and bring it here on the show. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Texans, and give me a follow at John_Hickman12.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody, COTYDAVIS _24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.